He's hacking the entire game and still loses. That's hilarious.
You sound like somebody that would accuse others of hacking.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're muted. What?
Obviously he wasn't muted if you just heard him, but that was a good one.
No, what's that? You're muted too. What?
Welcome to the Brykks Shithouse. Today I want to talk about the AN94, part of the big Deuce Infinity War just dropped on us with Season 5. Now don't you get this confused, this is not your mama's assault rifle, alright? This is a very unique assault rifle with a built-in Hyperburst function. All that mumbo jumbo is just fancy slang for as soon as you pull the trigger, those 2 bullets are coming out of that barrel faster than my pants come off when I see Richard Simmons dancing on my TV. They're coming out at Mach 10, which basically means you get 2 bullets for the price of 1, which is why this weapon is so aptly nicknamed the Twofer. I used to go to school with a kid, we used to call him the Twofer because every time he sneezed he immediately farted right after. Until one time he sneezed so hard he actually shit his pants on sight. And then that was the last time I ever saw the Twofer, so I'm gonna dedicate this weapon guide, this weapon comparison to Twofer. Miss you, bud. Let's get started. Now let's start with some damage here. Now remember that the AN shoots those 2 bullets very fast, so it's actually hard to kind of shoot 1 bullet at a time. Therefore we got 2 bullets coming in most situations here. But anyways, starting up at close range, a shot to the limbs is going to do 29 points of damage. Moving on to the lower body for 31. The chest we're doing 34 points of damage. And finally to this guy's ugly mug we're going to be doing 46 points of damage. Alright, so up close and personal at close range, the AN94 will kill in 3 to 4 shots. And we can compare that to the M4A1 and the Grau. These 2 weapons have the exact same damage profiles at close range. And you can see the AN94 beats them out in the chest section, requiring 1 less bullet to kill. And I'm going to surprise you guys here. I'm going to throw in the CR56 because you're worth it. I feel these are the most popular assault rifles, and the CR56 actually takes the advantage at close range, requiring 1 less bullet to kill everywhere except the chest, which is on par with the AN94. I hope all these numbers aren't too confusing, but let's move on to medium range. To the limbs we got 24 points of damage. To the lower body we're going to be doing 26 damage. The chest is going to get 28, and all the way to the dome we're going to do 38 points of damage. So at medium range the AN94 doesn't lose too much potential. It was a 3 to 4 shot at close range, now it's going to be a 3 to 5 shot at medium range. And once again the M4A1 and the Grau are a little bit less powerful. They're going to require 1 more shot to kill than the AN94. And the CR56 proves to be a little bit more powerful, once again requiring 1 less bullet to kill than the AN94. Now for long range, bear with me here, I had to do some other tests just because this whole 2 bullet thing is really throwing things through a loop. But I think at limbs we're going to be doing 18 points of damage. To the lower body is going to be 20. The titties is going to be 21. And then to the schnoz we're going to be doing 29 it looks like. So now we've got a 4 to 6 shot AN94 at long range. The M4A1 and Grau, basically the same situation here. Guns are a little bit weaker, they're going to take 1 more shot to kill to the body area, but the CR56 comes in hot, it's not taking any shit. Green all across the board, you know what that means. The CR56 is a beast at long range. It's going to take 1 less shot, sometimes 2 less shots at long range. So as far as damage is concerned, the addition of the AN94 today is kind of the hybrid between these popular Warzone weapons, but this is just one piece of the cookie. We need to dig in deep to the pie and see what we're working with. Let's go to range. Because what is damage without sufficient range? Here we are outside on the poop deck. Tweaking the health settings around, I can find the cutoff from close to medium range. As you can see, 1 shot to this guy's magnificent gut isn't going to take him down, but if I take 1 step further, that'll do the trick. There we have the close to medium range cutoff clocked in at 22 meters. And we can do the same thing to find the medium to long range cutoff. This time we're going to be giving him a free dental appointment. Take a step further, this shot will be the one that kills him. We'll set that to 44 meters. Now I like to use the shoot house line of sight to visualize these ranges. We can start with the AN94. So there's our close range, there's our medium range, and then anything after that is going to be our long range. Now the M4 range from the other video looks just like this. It's going to have a little bit of an advantage over the AN94. Not too big of a difference. Now don't you worry, I did my homework. The Grau actually got a range nerf from the last time we talked about it. So that's what it looks like at this moment. Still has the best range, and the CR56 got a bit of a nerf too. And that's what it looks like now. So the AN94 is a bit weaker, but it is competing with the M4A1 and the Grau for the range. It's not too far off. Taking a bit of a more detailed look at these range graphs, we can slap the numbers on it. So there you have the distance in meters of those ranges, as well as the shots required to kill within the respective ranges. You can see the AN94 fills that hybrid role once again, not having quite as good range as the M4 Grau, but having better range than the Galil, especially after those recent nerfs. But we must talk about time to kill, which is arguably the most important thing to talk about. Which gun will actually kill the fastest? Now before we can get into the time to kill graphs, although we have the damage from earlier in the video, we have to calculate the fire rate. Doing some quick math gives us a fire rate of 600 rounds per minute. Now, that calculation does not include the quick burst that the AN94 exerts when you start firing. Slowing things down, you can actually hear the first couple bullets shoot out of the gun faster. Therefore, we have a fire rate that's faster than 600 rounds per minute. But there's a lot of gray area there with calculating that with the fire rate. For example, if you miss those few shots, then it doesn't matter if the fire rate is faster. You're going to be down back to a 600 round per minute fire rate. Now we've already calculated the fire rate of these other weapons we're comparing the AN94 to in another video. And our calculated fire rate of 600 rounds per minute is slower than all three other guns that we are comparing this weapon to. So here's our time to kill chart. This will show us which weapon will actually kill an enemy quicker than the other. First, let's take a look at the AN versus the M4 without factoring in the AN's ability to get those first few bullets out of the chamber quicker. And there you go. As you can see, it is not pretty. The M4 outperforms the AN basically in every scenario except up close, when the AN94 is shooting to the upper chest. At medium range, the body is grayed out. That means both weapons are going to kill at about the same time. So as you can see, the AN94, as of this picture, is a pretty big piece of shit. But that's because we're not factoring in the initial burst when you pull the trigger. So for the rest of these charts, we're going to factor in that and see how it changes things. So now taking a second look with the M4, not much actually changes. At close range, the AN94 only has the limbs for the advantage. At medium range, it only has the head for the advantage. Everything else, the M4A1 will kill quicker, shooting these particular body areas. Now, the Grau, on the other hand, is quite a different story. The AN94 pretty much dominates, except for long range, where the Grau is going to take the advantage at the limbs. Lastly, let's take a look at the Galil. Holy shit, look at those colors blend together. My god, that's a piece of art. But same story with the M4. The Galil is pretty much dominating. I keep calling it the Galil, the CR56 Amax. Excuse me if I've made that mistake throughout this video. But it's at this point in the videos I usually like to remind you guys, as well as myself, that these are just time to kill charts. Here it looks like the CR56 is a much better weapon. It's like, why would you ever use the AN94? Well, remember how short of a range the CR56 has compared to the AN94. So in their respective ranges, yeah, the CR56 is going to do more damage, but the AN94 doesn't hop into those lower ranges as quick as the CR56 does. That's why we have to talk about damage, and we talked about range already because everything is a factor. So just keep that in mind. I sometimes think time to kill, some people think that's the ultimate be-all and end-all of a weapon's viability, but that's not always the case. You have to factor in everything we've talked about, from range to damage. Now we're at time to kill, and whatever we're going to move on to next. And I'd just like to point out that these are the time to kill charts for multiplayer and not Warzone. Usually I include Warzone, but I'm not going to bother because the AN has such a low rate of fire that I can tell you right now the time to kill charts are not going to be pretty. They're going to be uglier than they are right now for the AN94. So we're going to skip that part because we know logically that if this is what the time to kill looks like for a slow firing gun in multiplayer, it's probably going to be all purple and it's going to be all red and all green for the Warzone guns. So let's just ignore that. Let's move on to recoil here. So this is the last thing we're going to test here. We've got the AN94 and we might as well slap in those other three guns to see side by side how it compares. Alright, first of all, I'm sorry, but those iron sights are absolutely terrible. I feel like I got Rosie the Robot's box right up in my face. It looks like it kicks just as much as these other guns. It does appear to veer to the right quite a bit. Let's take a closer look. it looks the most similar to the M4 in the reds. The Grau straightens up a little bit, and the CR56 kind of just has a completely different banana hook pattern. Now these recoil cross sections are never 100% accurate, but I think it's pretty obvious to see that the AN94 has the most recoil out of these 4 weapons. So what did we learn today? Well, nothing constructive obviously, but we did discover that the AN94 is definitely kind of ass. It's not a garbage weapon, it definitely has its uses, but in terms of being the new meta, you know, we saw the Grau come out and it was immediately, you know, everyone was just jerking it off, and then the CR56 came out, and I know I lost a few of my shorts from that gun, but you know what, the AN94, it doesn't have that same effect. I do think there is a use for the weapon. I do think you have to utilize the Hyperburst function to get the most out of it. How you go about doing that is another topic for another day, but as for now, I highly recommend you stick with your Grau or your CR56 or your M13 if you're cool like me, because no one uses the M13 for some reason, yet it's the best gun in the game. I'm not too sure why people aren't using it, but thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.